Welcome back to the next video in our series. So this one is going to be over solving one-step addition and subtraction equations. Our previous one was where you were given an equation and then you were substituting in the value that was for the variable. So this one's a little bit different. This one is where you guys are actually finding the value of the variable. So it's going to be just a couple more steps added to it. So let's go ahead and get started then. So here are our objectives. We're going to find the difference between an expression and equation, talk about inverse operations, learn how to write the equation based on a word problem, and then how we're going to solve it. So there's a pre-assessment, and that is found on our Google Classroom, or I have the link here. Okay, it's going to be a Google form. It's just going to let me know what you already know about this, so please take a few minutes and complete that. Awesome. So you know how I always do an introduction. I always am very passionate about vocabulary, and I think it's in math especially it's important, because if they include a vocabulary word and you have no clue what the vocab word is, you're not going to know what to do to solve that problem. So the three words we're going to focus on today is expression, equation, and variables. And I have a resource for Khan Academy off here. What I would do is pause my lecture, play the video, okay, and always make sure you're writing down the vocabulary word in the definition in your own words. So you can either do that on a Google Doc, a piece of paper, or you can do it within this PowerPoint since everyone has a copy. So one of the main objectives for this lesson is learning how to solve the equations if we're given a word problem or if we're just given it. Okay, so I have my math antics video. Awesome. You know, I always like using them, where they're going to do a lot of different examples. Okay, so make sure that, again, either this is in your notes for this PowerPoint, your notebook, a Google Docs, something, okay, that you can look back to if you're having problems, because these are your notes for the lesson. So go ahead, pause again the lecture and play this. What I would do is pause this several times, like I said, writing down the examples and his steps. Okay, so you went and watched the video, you got your vocabulary down. Let's put it to practice. So the first things first, either highlight or circle the correct answer in the PowerPoint of what's either this is an expression or is this an equation, you know, one for each one, okay? And take a few minutes, then click to the next one and double check your answers. Okay, while I clean that up, you guys can look to your answers here. So, too far. There we go. Okay, so the first one is an expression, next one an equation, and so on and so on. And I left a very important reminder on the bottom of this PowerPoint, so make sure you understand that an expression does not have an equal sign while an equation does. There's also different vocabulary that we use when we talk about expressions. We're always asking students to simplify them, while an equation, we're always asking them to either solve or find the value for the variable. So those two kind of terms, when you're asked about the different questions, also comes into play. So these are the actual creating the problems and then solving them. So this is my word problem. Johnny has X apples. So I don't know how many he has to start, but I know when he adds 5, he's going to get to 8. So I have my variable, which is X. Let me do the focus point here. Variable, that's X, and I know when he adds 5, I'm going to equal 8. Okay, so to find what X is, I'm sure everyone can do this in their head. Mrs. Donahue, 3 plus 5 equals 8. Okay, these are simple. We're going to get harder to where you're either going to do 2 operations or 3 operations, so just bear with me for these. You got to get the steps down first before you can do harder problems. So to figure this out, what you're going to do is you're going to do what we call the inverse operation, which I added 5, so that my inverse is subtracting 5. And an equation is a balance beam. I see a lot of students that put a line down the middle saying, hey, I do -5 on this side, I have to do it on this side. To where we find that x is then equal to 3. Okay? And then you want to do what we call the check step. The check step is super important because we are substituting in the value that we found for our variable back into the problem to make sure it makes sense. Because if by chance I said up here x equals 4 and then I put 4 back into the problem, 4 plus 5 does not equal 8, so somewhere I messed up. Okay, so that's an important step. So I have 3 practice problems down here that I want you to work on. So go ahead and pause, take as long as you need, and double check it. Okay, so let's check our answers then. So here's my answers to the problems that you guys were going to work out. Okay, so again, I subtracted 2 because I added 8 because I subtracted. And the most important thing is, let me get rid of that box there, is checking my work. There's my check step. That's super, super important. Okay, again, not so much like right now, but when you're doing 2 or 3 steps, you need that. Okay, so I have 9 practice problems here that I want you to do the exact same thing. I want you to show me the inverse operation. So the first one is we are subtracting 7 because I'm adding it. So I subtract 7 on both sides because it's an equation. Again, some students like to draw this line to say, hey, I did it on both sides, and they can visually see it. And then the x falls down, the equation sign falls down, and then 18 minus 7 is 11. Okay, so go ahead and work out these and do the check step for this one on your own. Okay, so everyone should have paused the video, worked these problems out, so let's double check our answers. I know it's a little muddy, and I'm sorry, I tried to get it as big as possible so you can see all the work that I needed to do for each one. So I started with this one. Now, a little bit different than what you've probably seen is that I have a slash through my +7 and my -7. I know some kids like to see that slash because they say, okay, when I add 7 and I subtract 7, that equals 0. So it is totally gone. It's not there anymore. So all I have is my x. Feel free to do this if that helps you visually, or if it distracts you, don't do it. Just do the regular problem. And then again, I have my check step here. If this was wrong, I would have to go back and figure it out. So if you are having any difficulties, please respond to me by email. I check my email all the time, and I respond back in 24 hours. So please, please, before you complete the assessment, get some help. And again, Khan Academy is a great resource if you want to do practice problems because they walk you through each step. So we've completed the practice, we've done some vocabulary. You guys are ready for your post-assessment now. Now, the post-assessment is going to be found in your Google Classroom. So again, you can either click here to get to your Google Classroom or go to your bookmarks. Okay, so the new assignment is going to be an Edulastic link, and I think we've done this before, but for the people that have not done Edulastic, I've included a screenshot of how to log into the link. What you're going to do is going to sign in with Google since you're already through Google, and it'll automatically take you to the link I have saved. Okay, I have also posted a discussion question based on this PowerPoint, so refer back to the PowerPoint and answer that for your classmates. Do not forget to respond back and forth to each other as well. And our next lesson is going to be solving multiplication and division equations. So I look forward to seeing you again. Again, if you have problems, please email me.